Today we're going to talk about the MCA reading test. This is a short video that talks a little bit about some of the tools, moving through the test, and then also working with the test questions that you're going to see later today. It's developed as an online tutorial where you can, as a student, go and hit play and listen to the audio, but instead I'm going to walk through and kind of just point out some high points. You've seen tests like this before through the MCA process, so just follow along. The first thing that you're going to see when you walk in for the day is if you're working on one of the Chromebooks, you're actually going to have to log into the app first, and your proctor will walk you through that process. If you're working with the desktop, chances are the proctors will have this up and ready to go. State of Minnesota, sign in. The company that we use is something called Pearson Access, and their product that they use to push the tests out and get the test answers is something called TestNav. So when we say TestNav, that's actually the program that you're going to be using. Username and password, that's where you're going to get it on that ticket that you'll actually sign in a little bit later on, but I'm getting ahead of myself. So test the audio first. For the reading test, you really don't have much of the audio. It's for mostly the math test because it will read it to you, but the reading, of course, they're testing your reading, so they don't want to read the test to you. There's different sections on the test, and each section has a different question number, and so you can follow along with how many you have. It will actually show you in the next slide or two. The code of conduct is one of the first ones that pop up, and make sure that your name is up here in the upper right hand corner. But the code of conduct basically says that you're going to accept not cheating, keeping your answers to yourself, and not telling other people what's on the test. Alright, so when you start signing in, you're going to have some title pages and also some section headers that will tell you which section you're on and how many questions there might be in that section or that passage. Like here you can see the title page that explains what the story or poem or whatever it might be that you're going to see next will be about. Now, once you log in, you'll start seeing some tools in the upper section here. You can see that there's a back and a next button or forward, and that's the one that I've been clicking here with the tutorial. The MCA section 1 and 5 out of 40 questions. I believe it's closer to 60-70 questions for what you're going to be taking your test on, but it will tell you the number of questions that you're on out of the total or max question number that you have. Now, the review section is at the end of each section. You have an option to go back and review the questions, and that's what this review button is for. Right here you can see there's 5 questions, how many you did not answer and how many you have bookmarked. Now, bookmarked, if you remember back in the process that we had, or the actual testing product that we had before, when you were a little bit younger, probably in middle school, there were flags. Bookmarks and flags are basically the same thing. It's where you're going to highlight a question that you want to go back to. Maybe you were between 2 different answers, or maybe it didn't make sense and you want to just kind of take a look at it again. That's what those bookmarks do. So it will tell you that you have 2 bookmarks here, are those flags that are on the right hand side. Now at the end of each section, you want to make sure that you go and review all the questions and take care of your flags. So you can have flags and that's fine, but you can't have any non-answered questions. So out of the 40 questions, they answered all 40. They can go ahead and hit that next button and it will send you into the next section. Now the key to note is once it sends you into that section and you said, okay, I'm done at the end of it, you can't go back. So all of your answers that you've had are locked in, and you're on to the next section, and there's no going back. And that's what that is showing you, that you have to go on to the right or to the next. And then you go to the next section, you get a section header. It'll tell you exactly how many passages are going to be in the title of the next passage you're going to take a look at. Then you come to the end where you're actually going to finish your test, and you're done with it. And when you're done with it, you still have to say that you want to be done with it, so when you come to the end of the test, you have to click the right button and get out of it. So now let's take a look at a few more of the tools that are up there. There's a toolbar tools that are right here, and then you can see that your name should be here along with a few tools on the drop-down menu, and then some other tools that they have on the far right-hand side. And we'll kind of breeze through those just a little bit. Pointer, that's self-explanatory. Notepad, you can use scratch paper if you'd like. The notepad you can enter in hand notes, so you can take some notes, or the answer eliminator, which most people use, and then the calculator that will show up on the math test in 11th grade. So the pointer, you can drag an answer, you can mark objects, you can do things like that. The notepad, like I said, is just a blank sheet or blank space that you can go ahead and type in and give you, ideas that you had on a certain question. It's very time consuming, but you might use a piece of scratch paper instead. The eliminator one, of course, is where you're going to X out, and it's a big red X. So if you don't want A and you know A is not it, don't get confused, just eliminate it. So now you're looking at B, C, and D. I'm not going to try the eliminator tool. I think you can figure that out. And the highlighter tool, very similar. You can go ahead and go over in the passage a sentence that you want to look at, and then you can go ahead and highlight it into a different color if you'd like, and then that's there, and it will stay there until you want to take it off. Drop-down menu, you got to be careful with a little bit. Enable magnifier is basically just making it very large. You can do that also if you're on a Chromebook with like Control plus. I believe you can actually make the screen larger. Show line mask and answer enable masking. Those are where it can hide a lot of the text, so you don't get confused with a lot of text. If you're a slow reader, or if you're a reader that likes to put like a card and read, over the top of the card and hide the rest of the text that's coming up, those are some things that might help you if that's the case. The thing I don't like about this program is that the sign out of TestNav is right near these tools. So in the elementary school, we've had a tough time with some of these kids hitting sign out instead of trying to get to the tools right here. So just be careful that if you sign out, we have to basically resume your test and then get you back into it. So it does take a little bit longer. It's not like you're going to break it, but it does kind of put a little damper on things for a few minutes. So the color contrast is actually, you can change the background and of what your color might look like. A lot of elementary kids use it. Then once you get into middle school and high school, a lot of people don't. So you can see that magnifier really blows it up if there's something that you just can't make out. A lot of these tools also are going to be on the science test that you're going to take later on. So if you're in your biology class, you're going to take it probably during your biology time, but otherwise you might get pulled out of a class because you have had biology this year. So you will have a science test, and some of these tools might be better useful when you're looking at that science test. Here's that reader mask tool. Like I said, it can hide a lot of the text, so you can go ahead and look at a small portion of text instead. Answer masking, basically the same thing, but it's for answers instead of the actual questions. Now, here's a section that I just want to take just a minute or two on, and it's questions where you still need to scroll, multiple choice, multiple select, drag and drop, and marking objects. There's times where you need to use that scroll bar to scroll down. Some people think, oh, it's at number 13, or what if this 12 was really right here? They would say, oh, there's 12 lines for this passage and that's it. But really what you got to do is you got to scroll down and find the rest of it. So make sure that you're looking at those scroll lines and scroll bars to get to the bottom of it, so you're not missing a huge part of that passage. Multiple choice, I think you can figure out A, B, C, D, so I'm not going to spend too much time right there. But multiple select, which 3 answers best describe? So sometimes you might have to answer more than one, and just make sure that you're reading the questions very, very carefully. Drag and drop, even or odd, so then you can go ahead and drag them, drop them into where you need to go. So make sure that you understand that's where you're using that pointer and dragging and bringing them around. And marking objects, you can go ahead and mark them a color or not. So just a couple different things. Again, science test, probably going to use a few of these tools a little bit more than the rest. At the end of your test, it will say submit your final answers. You hit submit and OK, and voila, you're done. So that's what the test will be like for today. We're going to do the whole test at one time. So if you do need a break, or if you need to go to the bathroom, then talk to the proctor who's in the room. They'll let you go, one at a time, and try to keep the commotion down in the classroom. Again, you're going to want to keep your cell phones locked in your lockers. You don't need them there. You're going to have to hand them in if you do. Keep everything down to a minimum. I do have a sheet right here that talks a little bit about where you're going to be going All we did is just did alphabetical. We're going to use Lab 1 today, Lab 2, the Business Lab, Room 304, and Room 306. So all I did was take the number of students that we wanted to have in each one and go alphabetically right down the line. So whatever room you're assigned to alphabetically is the one you have to report to, because they do have a testing ticket that it corresponds to your name, to the lab that you're supposed to go into, and it gives you a username and password that's unique. So you have to sign in with that username and password. So good luck. I hope everything goes well, and if you have questions, remember to ask the proctors. I did forget one thing. When you're done with testing, you'd be excused to go down to the commons and go to your locker and get homework or anything that you want to work on, or go read and go into the commons. Or we'll have some basketballs out to shoot baskets and be in the gym. But take your time. You have plenty of time. And if you don't finish before lunch, we will then pull you out of class and give you a few extra minutes sometime in the future. So, thank you for listening.